Men, I want to tackle one of the toughest, most emotionally damaging questions that lands on my desk every single week. Why does my wife, the woman who chose me, suddenly seem to have zero interest in sex? For years, society has put this burden entirely on your shoulders. You're told to be more romantic, fix the house, talk more about her day, or be better in bed. And if none of that works, you're left feeling incompetent, rejected, and frankly, like you failed as a man. You are a good man, you've worked hard, you've been faithful, yet you live with this constant gnawing pain of sexual neglect. I'm here to tell you that the reason your wife loses interest is usually not primarily about you. It's about a deep, often subconscious process happening inside her that compromises her attraction and desire. Understanding this is the crucial first step to reclaiming your own health, sanity, and dignity. We are going to explore the top 5 reasons for this withdrawal, and the biggest reason is one we, as men, sometimes unwittingly enable. If you're ready for a frank, honest discussion that protects your peace of mind, hit that like button now. Let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? And please subscribe so we can keep this community of strong, healthy men growing. The myth is that women lose interest because of external factors, exhaustion, the kids, work, or your technique. The truth, the biological and emotional reality I've observed in practice, is that the withdrawal often stems from a self-sabotage cycle where the wife loses connection with herself and then projects that internal emptiness onto the marriage. This is a painful dynamic, but recognizing it is what saves your health. Here's a quick truth. When a woman is feeling this internal emptiness, intimacy often changes from a gift of connection to a burden. It can feel like she's giving away a piece of herself every time because she has nothing to give in the first place. Biologically, when a person operates from a place of chronic depletion, no self-care, constant stress, the body is flooded with cortisol. The nervous system is focused on survival, not pleasure or intimacy. The brain registers sex as another demand, not a restorative act. Emotionally, this feeling of giving away a piece stems from a deep-seated unhappiness or disconnection from self. The woman puts everyone else first, kids, job, home, leaving her emotional cup empty. She is subconsciously resentful and views the sexual request as her husband, taking the last drop of energy she has left. Practically, this turns intimacy into an obligation, a chore. She feels like an object because she is treating herself like an object, the last priority on her list. This insight is vital for your health. Stop taking the rejection personally. The problem is often rooted in her own internal deficit, not your inherent lack of worth. In my 5 years as a doctor focused on male vitality, I've seen the collateral damage this emotional chaos causes in good men. It leads to depression, hypertension, chronic fatigue, and a plummeting sense of self-worth. I'm here to give you the clinical context for the emotional puzzle you're facing. The reasons for female sexual disinterest are complex, but they almost always boil down to the woman's relationship with herself, which then compromises her attraction to her husband. You are not wrong for feeling confused or hurt, but you are also not responsible for turning her internal switch back on. You are only responsible for preserving your own health and dignity. Let's look at the 5 core internal reasons, moving toward the most critical one. 5, the control complex, fear of spontaneity and fun. The problem. For many women, as they age and life becomes more complex, they develop a tight grip on control over the schedule, the finances, the kids. Sex, by its nature, requires letting go, spontaneity, and losing control for a moment of pleasure. This terrifies them. Biologically, control is a stress coping mechanism that activates the fight or flight response. When she feels safe, the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, arouse, takes over. When she is constantly seeking control, her brain sees letting go during intimacy as a threat, shutting down the natural impulse for pleasure. Emotionally, she loses the capacity for joy and exploration. She suppresses the feelings needed for passion because they represent emotional vulnerability. The result is rigidity, where she can't loosen up and simply enjoy the physical experience. Practically, this manifests as nitpicking the timing, the environment, or the approach. It's a wall built on anxiety, not rejection. The next reason is purely punitive and comes from a place of deep self-loathing. You won't believe the logic. 4. Self-punishment, depriving the self of pleasure. The problem: many wives harbor deep insecurity, constantly comparing themselves to other women or judging their own bodies. They feel fundamentally bad or undeserving of pleasure. Biologically, this is a classic example of the brain rewarding self-denial. If she feels bad about herself, high inner criticism, her default setting is to withhold anything pleasurable, including food, rest, and sex. This is a form of emotional self-harm. Sex is designed to be pleasurable, therefore she must deny it. Emotionally, she deprives herself of anything that brings joy. If sex makes her feel good, she subconsciously feels she must not deserve it. It is a toxic cycle of self-hatred projected onto the relationship. Practically, this translates to constantly finding flaws in herself, in the lighting, in the moment, to justify the emotional shutdown. She is withholding from herself, and you are the collateral damage. Reason number 3 is about why the desire wasn't real in the first place. This one is tough to hear. 3. The weaponization of sex, never learning to enjoy it for herself. The problem: many women grew up using sex as a means to an end, to feel wanted, to manipulate a man, or to secure a relationship. They never actually took the time to explore and enjoy their own sexuality. Biologically, if sex is only used as a tool for validation or relationship status, the pleasure centers of the brain, the genuine desire circuitry, are underdeveloped. They activate for the goal, relationship, not the act. Once the goal, marriage, is achieved, the brain signals, mission accomplished, turn off. Emotionally, she has no internal blueprint for desire. She might rely on myths that sex must be a long production, that she needs extensive foreplay, or that she needs to achieve orgasm every time. When reality doesn't match the fantasy, she shuts down, unable to communicate what she actually needs. Practically, she puts on a performance but is never truly present. The lack of genuine engagement leads to an empty experience, confirming her belief that sex is boring or complicated. This next mistake is one you must recognize because it determines how quickly you lose your own attraction. 2. Buying into the oven theory and the male responsibility myth. The problem: society, and often well-meaning therapists, have fed women the myth that they are like an oven. They need extensive warming up, and the man must do all the work to get her in the mood. Biologically, the body is wired for reciprocal pleasure. This myth creates a lazy biological state where she feels she can wait passively to be desired. It discourages the personal responsibility needed to generate one's own arousal, which is key to female desire. Emotionally, this fosters dependency and resentment. She resents you because you can't turn her on perfectly, and you resent the emotional burden of constant, often failing performance. Practically, this leads to the infamous "I'm not in the mood, you do something" scenario, placing an impossible, emotionally draining burden on the man, which leads to his withdrawal and performance anxiety. The number 1 reason is the most important one. It's what happens when her internal dissatisfaction is projected outward, and it involves you. 1. Emasculation and repulsion, weakening the husband. The problem: this is the core issue. When a woman is deeply unhappy, due to the 4 reasons above, she unconsciously projects her self-loathing outward. She begins to emasculate her husband, constantly nitpicking, treating him like a child, shaming him, and sending the message, "You are not good enough." Biologically, when a man is constantly shamed, his stress hormones surge. He becomes a shell of a man, anxious, hesitant, and defensive. For a woman to be attracted to a man, she must respect his strength and integrity. When she strips him of this strength, she destroys her own attraction. Emotionally, the most common word used by women in this state is repulsed. They become repulsed by the weakened man they created. She is repulsed by her own cruel behavior and projects that self-disgust onto the object of her constant shaming, her husband. It is her doing, but you pay the price. Practically, this cycle is the death knell of a passionate marriage. You cannot be intimate with a man you treat like a disappointing child, and you cannot desire a woman who actively crushes your spirit. Men, you need to understand that the fix is not about changing your technique. It's about reclaiming your integrity and vitality so that you are no longer a target for unconscious projection. 1. End the emasculation loop. Establish dignified boundaries. The plan. You must stop tolerating shaming, nitpicking, and controlling language that strips you of your masculine self-worth. What to say, firmly. I will not continue this conversation if you use that tone. I am your partner, not your child. When you are ready to speak to me with respect, I will listen. The goal. You are immediately halting the emasculating behavior. This preserves your inner strength and signals to her and your own subconscious that you are a man of value. This respect is the only ingredient that can potentially reignite attraction. 2. The self-care shield. Prioritize physical vitality. The plan, aggressively pursue the health regimen that makes you feel strong, sharp, and confident. This is your emotional armor. What to commit to? Focus on strength training, which naturally boosts testosterone and mood. Prioritize protein and hydration. Cut alcohol/sugar to reduce the constant cortisol spike. The biological impact. You are building physical resilience against emotional attacks. When you feel strong, you react less emotionally to conflict, stabilizing your hormones and making you a more centered, less reactive man, which is fundamentally attractive. 3. Change the focus from performance to pleasure for yourself. The plan. Stop trying to fix the sex or win the encounter. Refocus on your own well-being and pleasure. What to do? Engage in healthy self-care and activities you enjoy. If intimacy happens, focus on your own experience of pleasure and connection. Do not monitor her reaction or assume responsibility for her enjoyment. The emotional impact. You shift the dynamic. You are taking back ownership of your body and your pleasure. This prevents the feeling of performance anxiety and communicates non-verbally that you are a complete, self-fulfilled man who is choosing to share an experience, not begging for validation. My friend, your pain is real, but it is not a diagnosis of your inadequacy. You are a good man who deserves respect and connection. The path to reclaiming your vitality lies in understanding that her withdrawal is often a reflection of her own internal struggle. Your job is to stop absorbing her chaos and start radiating your own health and self-respect. Small, dignified changes can bring back comfort, freedom from anxiety, and a confidence that redefines your role in the world. You have the power to stop the emotional abuse cycle and restore the foundation of your well-being. Stop striving to please an unpleasable fantasy and start building the unshakable, healthy man you were meant to be. Make a commitment right now. Tell me in the comments one boundary you will set this week to protect yourself from emasculation. If this video gave you the clarity and strength you needed, please like, share it with a good man in your life, and subscribe to join our community. I'm Dr. Jocelyn, and I look forward to witnessing your renewed strength.